Hi, I'm Steve Lewis from It's a Puppet, and this is Behind the Voice. Honest stories before the first laugh.
Hi, I'm Daisy, and I'll be speaking to ventriloquists about the struggles, the setbacks, and how they got started.
Featuring the world's best ventriloquists I've been lucky enough to meet, build puppets for, or even work with on stage, sharing their stories to help inspire those who are just getting started and may feel a little bit different to keep going.
I am fairly new to my ventriloquism journey, and even though I face some challenges and online negativity, I've kept on going. And I'm super duper excited to be asking the questions I've always wanted to ask some of the coolest people.
I followed Daisy's journey right from the very start, and her positivity, her determination has been absolutely incredible. And I'm so glad that she's the one that gets to ask the questions others don't get a chance to. So join us as we go behind the voice. Today's guest is someone I've been lucky enough to build puppets for and had the pleasure of working with on stage, mostly behind the scenes. Paul Zerdin. He is one of the most recognised ventriloquists in the world. He's the winner of America's Got Talent, a regular Las Vegas performer, and known for pushing the art forward in ways that are clever, modern, and sometimes completely unexpected. Paul also works with both traditional hand-operated puppets and remote-controlled characters, showing just how wide the art of ventriloquism really is. I worked with Paul on the Lost Voice Guy Christmas show, where I was puppeteering a puppet of the Lost Voice Guy for Paul, creating the illusion that the puppet was being operated by remote control.
Can you teach me to do it?
Funny you should say that, because I have got you a little Christmas gift.
Wow. That's the most attractive puppet I've ever seen.
There we go. Welcome, Lost Voice Boy. Now, you've got to check this out, because I've had him made so that you can operate him using your tablet.
Let me see.
Oh, moving to the right. That's good. That's nice. And to the left. Oh, up and down. Oh, that's fancy.
He's great. How do I make him talk?
It's quite simple, really. You've got to talk without moving your lips.
I think I can manage that.
Yes, of course you can.
The whole lip moving thing won't be a challenge.
It was a perfect example of how performance, movement, timing and teamwork all come together to sell the magic. For Daisy, this is a huge moment, so let's send her a message so she can send some questions to Paul.
Right, Granny, Steve has sent us a voice message. Oh yeah, play it then. Right, we're going to play it now. Okay, yes, darling, be quick.
Hey Daisy, you're going to love this one. You've seen his panto, you've watched his shows, and he's won the world's biggest talent competition. He's one of the biggest names in
I know who it is.
and known for bringing his puppets to life. I think you're going to be very, very excited, and you've probably guessed already who he is. So get your questions ready, as Paul Zerdin would love to be a part of Behind the Voice.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I love Paul Zerdin! Oh god! I love Elder so much. Oh, he's sexy, he is, isn't he? And Sam. Oh, his little Sam. No, I don't like that one as much, but I like Albert a lot. Hi, Paul. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to film Behind the Voice. I'm very excited to have you here and ask you all these questions. Hopefully, this is my best interview yet.
Hi Daisy, great to be here on Behind the Voice. Behind the Voice.
Before the big shows, before the TV, before everyone knew your name, what did ventriloquism give you personally in those early days?
When I was starting out, I was doing magic and I was doing a bit of stand-up, and it was sort of comedy magic, a few illusions, but it was mainly kind of stand-up magic, comedy magic. I think once I started having learnt the basics of ventriloquism, the technique, once I started putting the vent into my magic show, I think that and it started getting a good reaction, then I realised that it was going well, and it was definitely, you know, a direction that I wanted to go in. I think it gave me confidence. It gave me a lot more confidence because I knew that I was doing something that not that many people were. There were a lot more magicians at that time. And the agent that had taken me on had said to me, I've got loads of magicians, what have you got that's different? So the ventriloquism just gave me confidence generally as a performer because I was doing something that not everyone could do.
Ventriloquist.
Ah, ventriloquist.
As ventriloquism isn't common and most people don't understand it, did you ever feel different growing up, and did your puppets ever help you get through that?
I felt different, but it wasn't in a bad way. I felt different because I wasn't necessarily that interested in playing football. I was more interested in annoying my mates with card tricks and trying out sort of, you know, magic. And then the puppets came in a bit later and the ventriloquism. But I think once I'd learnt the ventriloquism, like I said before, it gave me confidence, and it gave me more confidence because I definitely had something. I had something a bit different. But my friends, I always thought I was a bit different anyway. But I did win the school talent competition the year I was doing my GCSEs, and I levitated my sister, and I had hired a professional illusion from Davenport's and the Demon Club, which was the magic club I belonged to. So I won that talent. I won the talent competition, and I think people and my friends at school kind of realised that I actually was quite serious about what I was going to do. And even though I only got drama and English for my GCSEs, I knew that I was going to go into show business, and I was going to find a way. So just generally performing and then being okay at it, especially doing an amazing trick like levitating, someone in front of your classmates, that definitely gave me confidence. And I remember going to the school canteen for lunch the next day, and people were pointing at me, and I could hear them whispering and going, "Oh, that's Zerdin. He can do magic." And I was doing ventriloquism. I was playing around with it, but that came a little bit later on.
Did puppetry and ventriloquism help you express things that you couldn't maybe say without a character there?
I was always cheeky as a comedy performer and doing my magic. And then when I introduced the puppets, or the puppet, I had one puppet at the time called Gus. He was very much like Ernie from Sesame Street. And he had an American accent. I realised that I could get away with more on stage with the puppet than I could. And the puppet could be a lot cheekier than I would be, even though I was pretty cheeky, because I guess the puppet can get away with a lot more, for sure.
Your puppets feel incredibly alive. How important is movement and physical performance compared to the voice itself?
I mean, keeping the puppet alive is quite important. So when you're talking as the performer with a hand puppet, you've got to try and keep that puppet alive, and you'll know, the more movement, the more that helps bring it to life. So when you're talking, I would probably have the puppet look at myself some of the time and look back at the audience, but then depending on what the routine is and what the jokes are about, it might be that the puppet can't believe what he's hearing, and then has to look to the audience to get a reaction, as if to say, what's he on about? And so the puppet, the physicality of it all is really important. And then when the puppet is talking, if you look at the puppet as well, some of the time, I like to look at the audience to see their reactions and gauging, how it's going, how the material is going down. But I still will look at the puppet every so often. And I also think that helps, it just helps if I'm looking at him. that just helps the ventriloquism, because they know you're doing it, but if the character is believable enough with a mixture of voice, movement, and also a good script and some good jokes and good material, then looking at the puppet just helps the character become more believable. I find, even though I've been doing it for a long time, I still find when I get interviewed and I'm with a puppet, I have to just, sometimes I'm thinking of a question or thinking of an answer to a question, and I've got to keep the puppet alive. Sometimes I just say, and I just did it recently on a news interview, and I just say, I'm sorry, I can't multitask, and sleep, and I make the puppet go to sleep, just so that I can answer the question normally like I am now, and not having to worry about keeping the puppet alive. And also, if the puppet's there, the puppet looks funnier than me and is funnier than me, so there's a pressure for the puppet to be able to come back with something really funny, and sometimes it doesn't come to me and I don't think of anything. So I think I'll say something, I'll have something planned to say for the puppet anyway, but then when I'm answering a question that I don't know that I'm going to be asked that question, I just kind of act natural and go with it. And sometimes it is quite difficult to multitask, and sometimes I'm busy thinking of a really serious answer to a serious question, but I'm there with a puppet on my arm, and I think this can't look too serious, because I'm a grown man with a puppet on my arm answering a serious question about whatever it is related to what I'm doing, if you know what I mean.
Winning America's Got Talent changed everything, but what was it like behind the scenes, and how did it change you as a performer?
Winning America's Got Talent was, it was massive for me. It gave my career a huge kick. I was doing fine in the UK, and I'd been lucky enough to be on things like the Montreal Comedy Festival, Just for Laughs, and then they have TV galas that you do, and they get shown around the world, and then from being on shows like that, I would then get asked to go and do comedy festivals in, say, South Africa or in Asia or wherever. And so I had been traveling around the world with my act anyway, but the AGT thing was just, it was big, and that's probably the biggest of the talent shows. Of the Got Talents, the American show was probably the biggest, and that gets shown around the world as well. So that gave me a much more of a global profile, and I loved the experience of it. I had a fantastic time, and the producers basically let me do what I wanted to do. I hear stories of people saying, oh, they made me do this and I didn't want to do that, I wanted to do this, and I kind of trusted my gut instinct, and that is the most important thing. Go with your gut. Your gut is always right.
Is it?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
No, your gut instinct is really usually right, and I just worked out roughly, if I was to get to the finals, which is what I wanted to do. I never dreamt of winning it, but I wanted to get to the finals just to get that amount of exposure. I kind of mapped out roughly what I would do for each spot. And the season 10 that I did, is changed a bit now, but when I did season 10, you had 5 spots. You had your audition spot, then you had I think it was called the judges' cuts, then you had quarterfinals, semi-finals, and then the finals. And then they sprung another spot up on you later, if you got to the finals, where you did a spot with a celebrity as well. So in actual fact, I had 6 spots. So it's a massive amount of exposure, and but I didn't dream of winning it. I dreamt of winning it, but I didn't think it was actually plausible, feasible. But I just wanted to get that exposure, and so it was hugely helpful, and then it filtered back home to the UK. And it helped my career here. So now I can work in America and the UK as well, a lot more. And I've got that profile. And whenever I do a show or I'm interviewed on something, it's always, yes, he's the winner of season 10's America's Got Talent. Paul, welcome to the studio. How's it going? What was it like winning? Even though it's quite a long time ago, I still get asked about it. So it's a nice tag to have. And I loved the experience of it. I relished it. I'd worked in television on and off for years, and so I always loved doing big TV shows. And so when I was live on stage at the Dolby Theatre in front of millions on live on NBC and 6,000 people in the auditorium, I just rose to the challenge. I just thought, wow, what an opportunity. Go out there and give it your best. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
You're lucky enough to regularly perform in Las Vegas. What's the difference between that world compared to touring and doing your amazing pantos?
Las Vegas is such a strange place. There is nowhere like it. And I had been to Vegas a lot before I ended up working there, even though I had actually worked there a couple of weekends years before on a variety show just off the strip. So I knew what I was in for, and Vegas is the upside of doing a show, having your own show in your own theatre in Vegas, is that you don't have to get in the car or get on a flight and travel to the gig, to the next gig, and then to the next gig. You come in every evening and your show is there, and you just set your bits up, and you've got a whole production team to help you and a whole crew, and it's your show and it's your theatre and you're on every night. So that is fantastic, and it's a really it's a creative environment. It's a really good environment to put new bits in all the time, because you get so comfortable because it's your theatre. Whereas if you are on the road all the time, which I'm at the moment, you're in different theatres and different venues all the time, every night, and you have to get a bit of, you spend a bit of time getting used to the venue, and then you've got a different audience every night. Whereas in Vegas, you've got the same venue, so you don't have to worry about that. You're totally comfortable and at home, and all you have to do is worry about entertaining that audience. So there are major pluses for having your own show and having a residency in Vegas, which I did have. But there's also the downside, is that you're stuck in the middle of the Mojave Desert, and you feel like you are miles away from anywhere else. So if you're there for a long time, I think sometimes it could got to me a bit. But I love doing the show.
For young puppeteers and ventriloquists who feel shy, unsure or different, what advice would you give them before they get their first laugh?
It's really difficult giving advice. Everyone has their own way and their own sort of road. I was really confident when I left school and went into showbiz. I just knew I was going to go into showbiz. I didn't quite know how I was going to do it, but I just felt not overly confident, but I just felt I'd seen people on television and grown up with seeing all these performers, and I thought I want to do that. So I looked at how they did that, and whether it was working in the comedy clubs or working men's clubs, but it was all about just getting experience, and it's about getting as much audience experience as you can. Any gig, any gig is a gig. A gig's a gig, and you want to just get as much stage time as you can, and the more experience you get, and the more used to working with an audience in all sorts of environments. I mean, I've done gigs for the troops in Iraq on a massive stage in front of thousands of British troops and some American in the Iraqi desert, and then I've done gigs in a restaurant, in the corner of a restaurant, standing on a milk crate in front of 28 people. And in fact, my first ever Edinburgh show was at the Gilded Balloon at the Edinburgh Festival, and my opening night I had 7 people in, and the 7 people consisted of my agent, my promoter, the promoter's wife, the marketing, and 2 paying punters. So it's about being able to work in every situation, and I think you have to just go for it. What's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is that the audience don't laugh and that you feel really stupid for a while, and then you work out what they do laugh at, and then you'll get better and better. So you just have to absolutely just go for it.
Thank you so much, Paul. It's so inspiring to hear that a massive performer like you, winning AGT and doing Palladium, didn't actually start off that confident, and that it builds over time.
Thank you very much for having me on the show, Daisy, and the best of luck with it.
A huge thanks for Paul for being a part of Behind the Voice. I think what really stands out from Paul's story is that success didn't happen overnight. Behind the big stages, television appearances and world recognition was someone who simply kept going, practicing, learning, finding his own style and believing in something that many people might not have understood at the beginning. And I think that's such an important message, because if you're learning ventriloquism, puppetry, or anything creative really, it's easy to compare yourself to someone who seems miles ahead. But every performer you admire once started exactly where you are now, unsure, learning, trying things out, finding their voice. So if puppets make you feel more confident, more creative, or simply more you, keep going, because you never know quite where it will take you. We'll see you next time on Behind the Voice. Thanks for watching.
If you want to see me on tour, then go to paulzerdin.com.
What is it?
It's paulzerdin.com.
Really?
Yes, it is.
PaulZerdin.com.
That's right. And all my tour dates all over the world are right there, right now.